welcome to a little bit of a different setup for today's video. So this week was super busy and it's going to stay busy, so I don't actually have as much time as I usually do to sit down and film an episode for you, but I still wanted to hang out with you a little bit. And as I said in my last episode, I am going to be buying new yarn quite a lot the next few weeks because there's a few exciting things coming up and I can't wait. But for me that means that I want to use up / get rid of quite a bit of yarn before that happens. So I thought today I could take you along while I tidy my yarn stash a little bit. My sister is coming to stay with me tomorrow and she also loves crafting, so I thought I would make a little basket full of wool that I no longer need or think I will use, and then she can see if she wants any of it and have her pick. I guess that is the benefit of having siblings that are also into crafting, that you get to rate their stash and that if you want to destash, then they're there to take stuff off your hands usually. So I have already started using up a lot of yarn scraps that I still had in this little thing here. I have not talked to you about this before, so I will now. This slightly misshapen square is a moss stitch crochet square. I do not crochet often, but I have one thing coming up where I will crochet quite a lot, and I thought it would be good to get back into practice a little bit. So I started making this huge square. I mean, it's not huge yet, but it will be, out of all of my leftover fingering weight yarn scraps, which I don't think I will use for other stuff. So usually it's either because I didn't love the yarn, or it is because I did not have enough of it left to usefully make something with it. Like when I was starting out knitting, I just saved every tiniest scrap of yarn because I thought, oh, at some point I'll do some color work with it. And that happened a few times, but more often than not it didn't. So I had a huge glass jar full of little yarn scraps, and now I have decided to put them to good use. So what I am doing here is basically holding fingering weight yarn double, so it's always 2 different fingering weight yarns, and then just just crocheting a square that's just getting bigger and bigger. And I hope that at the end of this I will have a blanket, and it will take forever, but it will hopefully be worth it. That is my goal with this. And as you can see, there's already quite a few yarns in here, and little scratchy cat. I love this so far. I'm really happy. It's using up a lot of yarn that I brought back from traveling, or that I'm kind of like nostalgically attached to. There's a lot of silk in here as well, so it's not actually as thick as it looks. I think it's going to be a perfect blanket in late autumn, winter, when it's not too cold. And I have like a lot of like leftover little tiny scraps of moonshaft in here. There's some cordonette silk in there. It's just really lovely to use this yarn up that way. And I think I would really have struggled to find a good use otherwise. So I'm really happy I had this idea. It's kind of inspired by something I saw on YouTube that I saw someone make. So thank you to whoever that was, because I kind of forgot who. But yeah, I can't thank you enough, because this will be beautiful and I will be able to take this along wherever I go. This was also one of the reasons for casting this on. Do you call it casting something on when it's crochet, or is that just for knitting? I'm not actually 100% sure, but yes. So that was one of the reasons for casting this on, because I wanted one project that would keep my hands busy without distracting me too much, because I was knitting on quite a complicated lace pattern recently, and then went to hang out with friends for an afternoon for playing some board games, and I realized while doing it that I couldn't concentrate on the lace enough or on the board game enough, because the lace had bobbles as well. So I just found myself super distracted, and I was feeling a little bit rude, so I just put it aside. But then I can kind of tell I don't know, if my hands can't do anything, then I get a little bit distracted in my mind. So it's really good to just have something to keep my hands a bit busy that is not too requiring too much concentration from my side, and this was exactly that. So that is going to be my kind of board game blanket, I guess, and it's going to take as long as it takes. I really have no ambitions to finish it anytime soon, but I found it really fun to crochet on so far. Yeah, so we actually have a new cast on for this. Let me now kind of put it a little bit aside and show you. This is the favorite part of my stash here. These are all of my hand-dyed yarns that come in these skeins, and I think it is high time that I do some sorting because it's looking a little bit rough around the edges. Let me tell you a little bit about the yarns that I have in here, and if I'm getting rid of any of them or offering them to my sister, and also why. So, zipping this up, this is a project bag I got from my mom. Isn't it pretty? It's not actually supposed to be a project bag, it's just from this kind of cosmetics brand called Rituals, but I just think it's the perfect project bag, and she gave it to me as a project bag. So that's where this long-term blanket is currently in. So if I look at this, there are quite a few yarns that I got for making shawls. Like for example, these ones from Skein Queen, they look quite similar to be honest, but still they're different enough for me to want to keep both of them, and I will. There's also quite a bit of hand-dyed silk in there, and I will find a use for it. I'm actually thinking of using this, because I have 700 meters of it, for the Boo Knits Halloween knit along. It's not really the color, it's maybe not the vibe because it's quite unicorny, but anyway, I do really like it. I'm keeping this. This as well. Yeah, basically of this ones I'm keeping most, to be honest, because I have either I have plans for them or I know what I was thinking about when getting them. But there's one in here, this one. This is Felt Fusion colorway Rays in a fingering weight. It's this kind of like rhubarb yellow color, and honestly I got it to weave with it, and then because I had some like more experience weaving, I realized this is actually not a super good yarn for weaving, probably because it might kind of roughen up the fibers too much to repeatedly pull it through the heddle of the loom. So I think I won't be able to weave with this, or I might be able, like technically I'm able to weave with this, but practically the fabric that I will get I will probably not like that much. So I think I will offer this to my sister because I think she might also like the colors. Let's see what she says. If she doesn't want it, then I know I'll find a use for it, but that's definitely going to the side. Is there anything else here that we might consider? Ooh, this is also a beauty. I don't really know what I want to make with it. So this is the Wild Atlantic Yarns Neem 4-ply. I think that's how you pronounce that name, but I might be wrong. In the colorway Quayside, and it's that beautiful copper and blue. I'm sure I'll find a pattern that works with this variegation, but so far I have not. So let's sort this a little bit by color so it looks less chaotic than it did now, because I'm really not happy with that. little bit nicer. I think it's also good to rotate your stash every few months, actually, every once in a while, to make sure you're not getting bugs in there if you're stashing it like openly like I'm doing here. Fortunately, knocking on wood, it's been fine for me so far, but still I'm paranoid about it, so I keep checking every once in a while. Here we are again. I am back from the living room where I have one more Kallax cube of stash basically, and I found a few more yarns in there that I can either give away or that I will use for my scrap blanket. And this is some drop spooner, and it's super nice, and you will see a little bit more in the when I'm giving away in a bit, and I will explain why. Then I brought some more yarns over that I hope I can fit in this room now, so that the cube in the living room is a little bit kind of more tidy, emptier. So there's some heavy merino from Knitting for Olive, and I think this is Gilead from the Rerum Natura. I'm not 100% sure anymore, it's missing its label, but I'm quite sure because I used it in a sweater. So like let's say this is 85% sure this is Gilead. So these two, and then I brought over a few more hand-dyed yarns in the hope of fitting in here, but I think I was probably mistaken and slightly over-optimistic. So this is a lace weight yarn I got ages ago and I never used because I actually realized I don't like knitting with lace that much, but I will because this yarn is too pretty to not use. And we can see some kind of pattern for the colors here. This is a silk tape yarn I have, and I have never knit with that before, but I'm really excited about doing it. So it's also going to go in here. And then I have two hand-dyed yarns that I will offer to my sister as well. This is Malabrigo and this is Arroyo in the colorway Flama. I originally got it thinking of a specific friend of mine who looks really nice wearing those colors, but she's since kind of like shifted a little bit in her wardrobe color, so I don't know if she'd actually wear something in this, so I've never used it. I still really like it. I would still use it if my sister wouldn't want it, but if she sees it and falls in love, then who am I to stand in the way of that romance? So that, and then I have this beautiful rosewater black tweedino from Skein Queen with the little nips in there, which is really cute. I still think this is a very beautiful yarn, and I bought it thinking of making something for my sister with it, because this is really beautiful on her, this kind of like pink color. But what has happened since is that I started this tradition of making her a birthday shawl and making my mom a birthday shawl, and since both of their birthdays are around Christmas, I just never knit much else for them in winter time. And this is a kind of like wintry yarn. It's DK. It's like autumn, winter. It's good for hats or something like that. But I never really have the time to do that anymore if I'm making them lace shawls every single year. Especially like because if I would have more time, then I have two brothers and my dad, and they would kind of like come in front in the priority list a bit because they obviously haven't gotten a shawl yet. So, or anything like that really. So they would be in line, and then after making it through them, then I could consider making another winter knit for her, at which point I would be kind of probably knackered until like April. So that's why this hasn't been used, and specifically I got it because these colors would be so pretty on her. So I think I'm going to actually tell her what's up with this and offer for her to take it off my hands and make something for her herself. But if she doesn't want to do that, I'm just going to push through 1 year and make something for her with this. I'm just realizing how much Dyfo yarn, pretty yarns I have. Yeah, it's time for some more shawls, and probably I won't have to buy any shawl yarns this year for my Christmas shawls, because hello, as if there's nothing in here to make beautiful Christmas shawls with. Who am I kidding? But I will buy a few hand-dyed yarns, I think, in the next few weeks. There's no way around it, but like, this is calling me. This is my task for the near future. So we have that, and now I'm going to put my other things I got over in my cubes that are basically right behind you, and then let's chat a tiny bit about the yarn I'm giving away and why. I also thought I would quickly show you the lineup for the next parts of the scrappy crochet blanket. So here we have some silk yak yarn, hand-dyed merino silk 50/50, I think this was, knitting for olive, knitting for olive, knitting for olive, meadow yarn, knitting for olive. This is from Butinette, which is a German supplier, and this is Manos del Uruguay. So you see this is yarn from Meadow Yarn I had left over from a shawl. So you see these are all quite nice yarns, and then they they crochet up. I'm sorry, I'm just so used to it. They crochet up in this kind of moss stitch here, and I find it quite pretty, this kind of like fade gradient, because obviously I run out of one yarn but not the other at a time. I kind of try to hold a more neutral one with a colorful one, and so it kind of blends a bit into each other, and I'm really happy with that. Here we now have a bit of more order as well. So these are my more woolly yarns. This is Alice Starmore, both of these mostly. Then here we have some Derarum Natura Gilead, this beautiful chunky alpaca that I really want to make something with, and my drops yarns down here. Then we have DK leftovers, fingering weight leftovers, and hobby yarns. This is Malabrigo Rios. This is also Malabrigo Rios. These are my mini skeins. These are my super chunky yarns, so I have to hurry up a little bit. So down here are my linens, knitting for olive, knitting for olive. Super special yarns that I brought back from Scotland, and this is for my mum who wanted me to make a cardigan with it, which I will do at some point. I just haven't had the time yet. Now let's briefly talk about the yarn I'm offering to my sister. So as you can see, there's quite a lot of drops here. This is Drops Puna, this is Drops Lima, and this is Drops Belle. The Belle I absolutely adore myself, but I managed to smuggle a few of these into her luggage the last time, and it was the same color, and if she gets these two as well, then I think she has enough for a top or something like that. I did not smuggle them in her luggage. I asked her if she wanted them, and she said, oh yeah, but not many, just two. So maybe this time I can get her the other two. And then she can actually make a top or something. And the drops yarns, the Lima and the Puna, it's mostly, I love them still, but it's mostly because I found that when I bring back souvenir yarns from places, it's often these kind of like neutral colored DK worsted weight yarns. And this is kind of the same, so I don't really need more of it. Or like, I just realized I'm not knitting it up most of the time, because there's always a more exciting yarn I brought back from somewhere that needs to be used first. So they've been kind of languishing at the sidelines for way too long. So that's why there's the 3 drops Lima, which should be enough for a hat and a pair of mittens or something like that, and the 2 like 1.5 drops Puna, which should be enough for a nice cable hat or something. And then there is these 3 hand-dyed skeins that I've already talked about, and a leftover of another one where I used half of it to make a hat, and this is left over and could make another hat or something with it, and I'm gonna ask her if she wants it. So yeah, this is the little collection for my sister, and let's see what she actually picks from this. So my phone's basically out of battery now. It's going to crash any second, but this is basically my yarn stash. I have a little bit more here and there, but not super much. I think all in all I probably have around like 7, 8, 9, 10 kilograms, something like that. I haven't actually weighed it, so it's quite a lot, but I don't think it's completely absurd. However, I don't want it to get much bigger. I am not a fan of overconsumption, but I am a fan of pretty things, and sometimes these things are hard to get under one roof. but I'm trying to keep this roof mostly kind of like tidy as well as I can. And yeah, I'm going to keep you updated on the scrap blanket at another point. Thank you so much for hanging out while I tidy today, and I hope to see you super soon. Bye!